How about this? Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to another fantastic episode of Ask the Knights Live. I am your host, Baron Logan Path Warden of the West, and man, I tell you, we've got another great show for you. I know I say it every week, but we always bring you the absolutely best knights available, right? Even at the last minute, even when we have someone lined up and they have to bow out due to emergency issues, we still get fantastic nights for you. It's not a problem. We do it for you. So what can you do for us? Go ahead right now. Go ahead and flat snap the hell out of that like button and do us a little bit of favor. Okay, so without further ado, let us bring in our guest this evening. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Excellent.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and let you guys introduce yourselves.
I'm Sir Dimitri Korsak. I'm from Avacal. Been playing in the SCA for about, 11 years now.
Welcome.
I'm Count Fergus of Avacal. I am member of the Chivalry, member of the Order of the Pelican, and I've been playing for exactly 1 month less than Korsak, so 11 years.
Well, excellent. Thank you, and welcome once again to the show. Let's just jump right into that. How about? Sounds good?
Sounds great.
All right. So everybody knows who's watched this show for any length of time what the first question is, and that is, how the hell did you get into the SCA?
Oh, me. Sorry. So I got in the SCA. I have a friend of mine, best friend since high school. We used to meet each other in his backyard and hit each other with like little shovel handles because we were sword fighting back when we were in school. And he ended up living in a neighborhood that is actually in the same neighborhood as our regular fight practice. So he got his local newspaper that had pictures of people in armor hitting each other with sticks completely legally. So he called me up. I was working on the West Coast at the time, and he said, "Next time you come back to Edmonton, we have to check this out." So next time I flew back in, we dropped whatever we were doing, went down to the local practice. We saw everybody, and they looked like they were having so much fun. We literally left from there. We Googled it, got all the online resources we could, and spent the next 3 weeks, which was over the Christmas break, in my basement making armor. So that as soon as the Christmas break was done, we could come back out and swing a stick and have fun with people.
Awesome.
So I was living in a tiny little town called Chetwynd, BC, and ran into a guy who I was working with. He was on a different shift than me. And he's like, "Hey, you kind of like that medieval stuff. We've talked about it a couple of times." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, I started doing this whole medieval thing. It's in Dawson Creek. It's like an hour and a half away. You want to just come with me?" And it was, I think, right around New Year's. We had a day off. And I was like, "Sure, I'll come out." And I saw some guys out there who had their own armor. And they were like, "Well, here, we'll fit you in it." And they put me inside of it on my first day. And I was like, "Okay, how do I do more of this?" I don't know, just kind of kept going ever since.
Well, that's really cool. I love always, we were talking about this earlier, I love hearing everybody's origin story. Everybody's the hero of their own story. So, but I love to hear how everyone, found the SCA. And then that comes to my next question. So you guys have been in for 11 years. What keeps you coming back?
Oh, man, I like hitting people with sticks. I've developed some fantastic friends, obviously, over the past 11 years. But in any place that I've gone, and I've ended up kind of moving all over Avacal over the last 11. And everywhere I go, it's awesome people. There's always somebody who's trying to teach you something new or trying to just be nice and invite you into their house for some sort of a get-together after an event or what have you. I love all that. I love the community that we get. I really love the international community too, because it's so good you get out of Canada, you get to meet new people. Everybody in the SCA can just be the coolest person you meet at any given time. Yeah, it's mostly the people, but it's really a lot also about hitting people with sticks
and not having to go to jail.
That, I mean, yeah.
I love fighting, so that keeps me coming back. There's a certain rush to it, but I mean, fighting's only a small. Well, I shouldn't say small part. Fighting's only part of it. I mean, you could very easily join a HEMA group and still fight. What I like about the SA is kind of what Korsak said. I like the community. I have met some of the best friends I've ever had in my life in this community. It's I keep coming back so I can join them and I can see them again. There's always also something new to try and something new to do. Once you're done fighting, it's kind of nice to go see what somebody's made. It's nice to have a drink and go hear somebody's story. I love passion. I love listening to people's stories and what they're really excited about. And there's no other place I've been in my life where you find people as excited about what they're doing. So let's say I'm done fighting and it was a great fight and I'm having a beer with my friends and I wander through and I see an A&S person. It doesn't matter. It might be something I'm not interested in at all, but I love hearing about what they're doing because I love seeing how excited they are. And often I learn something. And there are some things that I never thought I would enjoy doing. But man, I really like doing after I've been in the SA and I got introduced to it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, we've said it on this show several times that the SCA is the hobby of hobbies. Like you may join, for the fighting or for the dancing or for the music or for rapier or whatever, what have you, whatever your chosen favorite thing is. But then you start learning about other stuff, and like you said, you see the passion that somebody has for making bowstrings. Like they make bowstrings and you're just like, how exciting can bowstrings be? And then you talk to the guy for a little bit and you're just like, bowstrings are cool. and you never, thought that you would find yourself in that situation. So those are our first two questions out of the way. So before we get into the rest of it, I forgot to do this at the head. Make sure that you guys in the audience are sending in those questions. No question is too big and no question is too small for these fantastic guests that we have on tonight. Without you, it looks like we'll get them back. But anyway, so make sure you're sending in those questions because as most of you know, if you watched the show before, the second half of our show is all viewer questions. That's right. You provide the questions that make this show good. I provide the questions that make this show, last for half an hour until we get to the good ones. So make sure you're getting in there. Make sure that you're putting in your SCA name and title along with your question so that I can screw up your name when I try to say it because it's what I do. I'm terrible at it. Anyway, a couple other things that I forgot to say is so this is a show for adults. We don't ask our guests to hold back, and we don't hold back, and we don't ask our viewers to hold back either. So if you're at home cursing, then that's great. And we only say this so that, just in case there's some youngins out there who are watching, you'll know exactly how cool you are for watching. Just saying. The other thing that I have to reiterate is, and adults, the other thing that I have to say at the beginning of every show is this is not an official SCA sanctioned show. So views and opinions expressed by those of the participants do not reflect any of the official policies or positions of the SCA Inc. and all that good stuff. So we're going to say stuff. Don't get mad at the SCA. Don't write them. Write me. I will read it. I probably won't care, but I will read it. I'm kidding. I will care. All right. So now let's get on to some of these better questions or more questions. So this one I like to ask because there's a lot of folks out here. This show is mainly for unbelts. and I want them to hear your story. You know, your story as an umbelt and how you got to where you are today. So I think this question is always important. Um, what was your biggest hurdle as an unbelt? What do you think you had to overcome, or what was the hardest thing for you to overcome so that you could be, you know, an honest consideration for knighthood?
It's not an easy question, actually. I like it. I really like that.
Yeah, all the easy questions are over. Those first two.
The hardest thing for a lot of people on their path is when they stop focusing on their path, I guess is the way to put that. So the hardest thing for me, and it wasn't the hardest thing, it was just something I had to realize, and it's something that I've seen is a lot of people have to realize, is when you stop striving, you become a knight when the crown recognizes you're a knight, but you're a knight before the crown recognizes that. And it sounds weird, but the crown doesn't say, "Oh, today you're suddenly a knight." You were a knight, and the crown goes, "Yes, that guy's a knight." So there's a certain point in your journey where you have to stop going and worrying about, well, will this make me a knight? Will this make me a knight? Am I worried about this? Am I worried what's happening here? And you literally have to get out of your own head, and you have to go out and just be the kind of knight you want to be as an unbelt. So if you think that knight should be like this, and this is what a knight should be, you have to do it rather than sit there and go, I want the knights to see me do this, or what do I have to do to be a knight? You have to create your own image, and then you have to live it. And that wasn't, I'm not going to say it wasn't a hard thing for me, but it was a natural progression that I had to make, and that was the final step for me, was when I finally got over that. And that's also very common for a lot of people. You have to stop looking at it as a goal and just be what you want to be. And then if it's good enough to become a knight, you'll become a knight.
Well said.
So I kind of feel like I'm piggybacking, but it was kind of what I was going to say. So I can distinctly remember when I had that experience where I was like, I am a knight. Whether or not they recognize me today or in 20 years from now, I'm going to be a knight the whole time. I think that was a very large thing, is that I kind of had this like, okay, what do I have to do? What do I have to do to get knighted? And that whole like, it's task oriented. There's got to be some checklists, some goals. Like if I get all these things done, if I do really well in these tournaments, and if I'm a really good fighter, and I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, you have to do a lot of those things, but they're not the thing that gets you knighted. The act of learning how to do those things is the thing that makes you a knight. And being a knight is what gets you knighted, if that makes sense. It's not a thing that just, well, now we're going to make him a knight because he's just picked off this many things. He's a knight because he's a knight. They're a knight because they've done the things to turn themselves into a knight, and they believe that about themselves as well. That's another thing, is like some people, and I know that I was definitely one of them for a long time. I was like, well, what do I got to do next? What do I got to do next? Because I'm not feeling it yet, and nobody's looking at me like that. And then it was at a Pennsic, my first Pennsic I was at, and I realized that, oh, I just am one, and they'll recognize me when they get around to it.
Exactly. One of the best pieces of advice I'd ever gotten is from Duke Mark out here in the West, and that was, don't try to be knighted, be knightly. And I took that to heart, and it makes the path so much more fun, because you play the role, and you fight, and you enjoy yourself, and they'll recognize it when they recognize it. You know, it may be the day before you die, but you're still having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the important part. Thank you for those answers. Alrighty, so
Thanks, Misty. That's fantastic. Hi, everybody.
It looks like you got a fan club out there.
I didn't know, but apparently I do.
Oh, okay. All right. So are you guys, do you consider yourselves a tournament knight or a war knight?
Tournament night.
Yeah.
Tournament night. I like war. I find it super fun. I'm no good at it. If I take these glasses off, I can't see for nothing. And in a tournament setting, I don't need to see beyond me to the wall. It's not a big deal. But if I'm in a war, we have so many archers up here, I just get pegged in the face and I can't see it coming. So I'm like, I like war, but yeah, I'm not a war knight.
I'm not good enough to be a war knight. I would love to be a war knight because I absolutely love war, and we have a couple knights in my household who are absolutely amazing at war, at tactics, and I've done everything I can to learn from them. But after seeing them in a war versus me in a war, I can't say I'm a war knight. I would say I'm a tournament knight.
Okay. I like to ask that question because they're the answers are always fun. You know what I mean? Like so many people are like, or most knights are like, I'm definitely a tournament knight. I'd love to be a war knight. I'm definitely a tournament knight. But it's kind of like the whole thing about being knightly as opposed to being knightly, or being knighted as opposed to being knightly. If you want to be a war knight, even if you're not good at it, go be a war knight. Have fun.
It's super fun. It's funny that Avocal, we just have such a small population. Like you could be a war knight, but we only get together for like 3 wars a year, and maybe that. And there might be 100 people on a field, and that's it. So,
well, I think you guys are going to have to start coming to either West End Tier or Great Western.
Man, you don't got to convince me.
Oh, we'll talk about it later. We will host a contingent as long as you're fighting for the West. We're great. We're really great hosts as long as you're fighting for it.
Awesome. I'll keep it in mind.
So my next question actually pertains to tournaments. What would you say to somebody who's nervous about their first tournament? And what do you think they should try to avoid or definitely try to do during that first tournament?
Oh, they should fight in it. That's so my first was an N-tier crown with 120 people in the list. That was my first ever tournament, and it was absolutely amazing. I got my ass handed to me like you would not believe. It was pathetic, but I had so much fun. So my recommendation is anybody who you're going to have fun your first tournament. So a lot of people don't fight their first tournament because they're nervous because they don't feel like they're good enough to fight in a crown. They don't feel like they're good enough to fight in this championship. They want to wait for a smaller tournament. Just fight in a tournament. Your first one in some ways is your hardest just because you have to break out there and figure out what a procession is and all the other stuff. Other than that, try to find somebody else who's been in a tournament and just ask them a couple questions beforehand. And just remember, everybody else in that tournament is just so damn excited you're there that nobody's going to think twice if you flubbed your words here or there, or if you die in one shot. They're just excited you're on the field.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with all that. Try to also remember that, like, if you're new, every single one of those people was also new at one point in time, and they will offer you the same courtesy that they were offered at the time. Everybody wants to help you out. It's not as scary as it seems. Peer fear is a real thing. I totally had it for years, but the peers actually love you so much. They just want to help you. Go talk to one of them and be like, hey, can I have talk? I want to ask some questions about, like, how do I do this? Talk to them. They will love the fact that you're there and they want to help. It's I can't wait to see more people come out for their first time. That gets me just excited thinking about it.
No, that's awesome, because my next question actually kind of deals with that a little bit. And we've talked on this show before about peer fear, and the whole point of this show originally was to let unbelts get to know more knights on a personal level through the show, so that they could say, oh, I saw that guy on the show. He said, come up and talk to me. So, and that's my next question. So do you both currently have squires? Are you looking for squires? And if you are, what do you look for in someone who you're considering and taking as a squire? And are you a approach me, or you want to approach them kind of?
So I don't currently have any squires. What I look for in a squire is you'll hear Duke Sean talk about this. You can teach anything to anybody that's got tons of passion, but you can't teach passion to people. If they want to be in the SCA and they want to go far in the SCA, that's the number one thing I look for. I don't care if you're super skilled or you've got a lot of natural talent. We can work on all that sort of stuff and figure out what you want to do. But like, yeah, that passion, that's kind of a big thing. I'm definitely you approach me. I understand that from my position as a knight, I have a status of power within the organization. I don't think it's totally fair for me to go and put that pressure onto somebody and be like, hey, you want to be my squire? You random new person who maybe doesn't know me very well, or even if they do, maybe it's in too public of a setting for them to say, no, I'm actually not comfortable with that, or what have you. I'm not a big fan of doing that. There's a knight out here in Sorogan, good friend of mine, and we talked about that quite a lot, and I agree with his position as well. Don't make the new person or the unbelted person feel like they have to say yes because of some weird power dynamic. Let them approach you. Let it all be super comfortable and relaxed. That sort of thing.
That's very interesting. I've never heard it put that way.
You can thank Rogan for that.
I actually have two squires at Protege. The squirings and the Protege happened very organically. But my first squire was actually an introduction from my former squire, now Knight's sister. She thought we would get along, and we did. She was very right about that. And the conversations were long, but they weren't serious conversations. Essentially, my requirement for a squire is don't be a dick. I have enough trouble explaining what I do. I don't want to have to sit there and explain what you do as well. So if there is somebody that I'm going to have to go around and apologize for all the time, then they won't be my squire. If I have to, I also need somebody who's receptive to when I speak, and I'm receptive when they speak. And that comes from, you can get that in any relationship. So it's very much it's not a relationship of equals, but it is a relationship that has to go two ways. And it takes a long time to figure that out. So both my squires I took as man-at-arms for a year. And during that year, I actively engaged with them about other knights in the kingdom. Because if I'm not right for them, I want to help them find the person who is. If in 2 years down the line, I'm not right for them, I will find the person who is. I don't believe in tying together forever if somebody grows or something happens. So that was how they started. And I did the same thing with my proto-protege before she was my protege. She was attached to me for a while, but we never actually formalized it until we were sure that we would get along. In Avocal, we do things like we run Squires tournaments, and in those Squires tournaments, you have to squire somebody for a day. And in that squiring for a day, it's essentially a trial run. You sit, you hang out with them, they teach you about the SCA, they give you some fighting tips. It's essentially they treat you like a squire for that time. And it's a really good way to get to know whether or not the teaching styles match, whether or not you even like the person and stuff like that. And we're good at that in Avocal, and I actually try to my best to run a matchmaking system to help combat the peer fear. So I try to find people their knights for a day. And even for my squires, when they wanted to be my squires, I tried to find a better knight for them, because at no point do I think I'm the best knight in the world. I might be the best knight for them, but I need to figure that out, and they need to figure that out too. So it's tough to say who approached who for those.
Well, that's awesome. I was actually going to ask you guys about what you thought about the man-at-arms system, which I am a huge fan of. I mean, sometimes you just know, but sometimes I think that whole, hey, why don't we test each other out for a year and a day and see how it goes, I think that's a great system. You know.
One of the things that I was told, like right after I got knighted, and I'm pretty sure about 3/4 of the knights in Avocal came to me and talked about it, was, hey, so are you gonna wait? Are you gonna wait the year before you squire anybody, because it's kind of custom, I guess, an unwritten custom. And I kind of told everybody the same thing. I'm like, look, if somebody was to approach me, I like the whole year and a day thing, so that I wouldn't squire them maybe for a year. But also, if we get to talking and it's 8 months in and that person's like, they're a perfect fit, we just, everything clicks. Why are we making this wait? There's no reason. So there was nothing kind of forcing that. Like I think that the Men at Arms thing is just, it should be fairly casual. It's got like an overarching 1 year and a day, whatever you want to call it. But like, if you want to break that, I don't think it's sacred. That's all.
Oh yeah. No, I think it's a good test or a good start. But yeah, you get 6 months in and Yeah, you know. Awesome.
I'm super jealous now.
What are you jealous of?
Oh, that's awesome cat, man. Fergus has got a great cat.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised. So normally we have the official mascot of the show is my cat Missy. Normally when I get on the computer and start talking, she'll come over and start screaming until she gets picked up and put on the camera because she thinks you all are here to see her, which I'm sure some of you are. But tonight she's just being cool. All right. So one more question before we get to our viewer questions. And this one comes from our new question writer. This is Sir Helga. So Sir Helga is a special case. She doesn't count as a viewer because she's one of the reasons why this show exists. She's technically part of the crew. So we'll go ahead and throw this one out here. And I'm asking this one because I love this one. And this is going to be, it's one of those pain in the butt night questions. So I hope you guys have your thinking caps on and you're ready to get a little deep here. So the question is, what is your definition of faith? How do you embody that definition? How does one demonstrate the virtue of faith to you? So now we've talked about this before, Sir Helga and I, and she, just to clarify a little bit, this means the virtue of faith within the SCA, because we try to keep religion out of the SCA except for on a personal, in your own skin type basis. So,
man, I just played Crusader on TV. That's
exactly.
Oh, I get to go with this one first.
Oh yeah, you get to go first.
So faith is a tough one because my squire sister, my knight sister, and I have talked a lot about the different virtues from the Song of Roland, and faith is one we've gone back and forth on a few times because I'm not as deep in my personal faith as I probably should be, but in the SCA, how does it apply? Faith is in a higher power, a higher calling. So when I talk about faith in the SCA, and I try to skirt around a little bit because a lot of the other virtues are also covered into this faith, but it's belief in the SCA almost. It's belief in the virtues of the SCA. So if you believe in what a knight should be, the ideal of a knight, be it all the other, I can't name all the virtues off the top of my head, but it's essentially taking all those virtues and not making them checklists. It's believing them in the next step. It's believing in not just justice as a thing, but the spirit of justice. It's believing that, it's really not saying this well. It goes beyond saying, I think this is right. It goes beyond it. It turns into a deeper belief. So it's not me saying I'm a knight because I get to wear a white belt. It's me honestly believing that, yes, I am a knight in this society and I am here to make it a better place and here to be the best me I can be, not just when people are looking, but when it really matters. So that's probably the best answer I can give.
No, well done.
Can you put that question back up? Is that possible?
Oh yeah.
So just how would I define faith? Like, so I guess my definition of faith has been, maybe I don't know my virtues as well as I do, because when I think of like how do I define faith, the way I think about it is the belief in things not seen, right? So and that can just be not seen yet. If you have faith in a person that's in your service, or if you have faith in yourself, that you're capable of doing good things, or you're capable of doing amazing things, like winning tournaments, or being a good fighter, being a good teacher, being a good person, even if you aren't able to do that yet, even if you aren't there, the ability to have faith in yourself and with other people that's basically how I've been thinking about it, I guess, for a good long time. It's not about any sort of interpersonal faith on a religious level. It's always just been, how can you have faith about yourself, the belief that you can do good things and become a good person and become better than you are today. And like Fergus said, I guess, with the how did you say that? Nope, I forgot. Never mind. But the idea that yeah, I can believe in myself even though I'm not there yet. That you continue to go even when things get incredibly hard, or you get really frustrated, or you beat yourself up over your inability to do things properly or right. Having faith that you can do better next time. Yeah, that's I guess how I would define faith. And I don't remember the other parts of the question. Sorry.
Basically, how does one demonstrate the virtue of faith to you?
Oh, dogged persistence. The idea that, like, look, I may have messed up, or I didn't do that well, or didn't do that properly, or I pissed off a whole lot of people, and now I'm going to fix that. That idea that I'm not just going to quit or think that I can't now. It's I'm going to fix this, or I'm going to do better, or I'm going to work harder, or I'm going to, because they still believe that they can get to this end goal, this achievement that they want. Yeah.
You both gave excellent answers. For me, the basic, like the simplest form of faith, I guess, for a fighter, is faith in your opponent. Because your opponent calls your strikes good or bad. You know what I mean? And you have to have faith in the fact that they will do that, truthfully and honorably. And it's a very easy faith to have, because I think that, most of the folks in the SCA are good people. Most of the people that you meet on the field are good people, and they're there for the same reason that you are, for the fun of it, for the joy of it. And not just to win. So that's the basic level of faith that I have in the SCA. And we could, this is one of those questions. I love Sir Helga. She's one of my favorite people, because she has a whole pocket full of these questions that will break your head if you let them, or you can just enjoy them for what they are. So, gentlemen, you've been fantastic guests. We are at the halfway point. Yeah, time flies when you're having fun. It's just about time for our commercial break. But before our commercial break, I have to tell you about a couple of things. One of the things that really, really helps us out, of course, is smashing that like button, because, we've got those algorithms and everything that push us out a little bit further into the ether and makes sure that more people can see us. So the more likes we get, the more views we get, and the more viewers we get, which is great. The other thing that you can do, if you are able and if you are so inclined, is to help us out monetarily on Patreon. If you go over to Patreon, patreon.com, and you go to KK Productions, and you've got, $1 a month, $5 a month, or even a single monetary donation that you can give. Every little bit helps. It helps us pay for the subscription to the streaming services that we use. It helps us pay for new cameras and new equipment for audio visual. Basically, all the little things that make it easier and make this better show quality for you. So if you can, go over there and give us a little bit of love. We really, really like it. Oh, and I always forget. Yeah, go over to Redbubble, grab some merch. If you want some cool stickers, we got them. All right. So once again, we have to thank our official sponsor, Trade Winds of the Levant, for taking care of us and making sure that we can do this show every week. This is the 48th show. We've been doing this for almost a full year. Actually, we've been doing it a little bit over a year, but we didn't count a couple of those episodes. But this is our 48th official show, and we do it just for you. We don't get paid. We do it because we love you. And with that said, we'll watch this commercial and we'll be back in a minute. All right, welcome back. And now we get to the really, really good questions on this show. That's right, the viewer questions. So I'm going to start with one that I take a little offense to. And it's kind of right in the middle of all the questions. But this one comes from Sir Baldrick. And it's how does Dimitri get his hair so much better looking than Logan's? I'm gonna have to disagree.
You can't see my hair; it's just shiny. Like there's.
Well, I mean, we got the pretty much.
But I'm not sure. I'm just white. Like it's just.
I'm thinking. I mean, I thought they were pretty much on par.
I mean, pretty close. Yeah, I would say yours is better, man. Like.
I wouldn't say that.
It's a glare. Like it's just.
I'm just saying,
I just got to disagree with Baldrick on a personal level. Like it's just, I need to.
It's a little hurtful. It's a little hurtful.
So the answer is lighting. Korsak has a brighter spotlight.
Yeah, this overhead light's getting me right there. Okay, all right. So, all silliness aside, let's get into these viewer questions because there's some really, really good ones, and I don't know if we're going to have time to get to them all, but we're going to try. Okay, so our first question from the audience comes from Master Allen, and he asks, "What began your path to becoming a knight? Like, when did you decide? Yep, I want to be a knight."
I think probably I was 14, and I was at work before I had ever heard of the SCA, and was like, you know what, that'd be super cool. I wonder how I could be a knight someday. And then eventually I found this. It's been something I wanted to do ever since I was a kid. Like, yeah, I guess over half my life now I've wanted to be a knight, and I guess now I am. So yeah, nothing crazy.
Oh, mine's going to be anticlimactic after Korsak's. So I'm a believer that if you do anything, you might as well do it well. So when I started fighting, knighthood wasn't really a huge goal for me. I like to fight. Eventually, I squired because I wanted to train, and then after a while, I was really done being a squire. So when I was really done being a squire, I really wanted to be a knight. As anticlimactic as that whole thing sounds after Korsak's wonderful high ideals.
Well, everybody's different, and everyone is just as valid. Okay, so I want to thank Master Allen for having an easy to say name because, I'm going to butcher this next one.
I can tell you how to pronounce it now if you want.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
It's Maeve.
Maeve.
I know it's Gaelic. I know.
Really, there's two people that you should never trust. The Welsh, and any of the Celts. So anyway, because they don't know how to spell.
I specifically went and tried to find the easiest Gaelic name I could to pronounce.
All right, so this is going to be from their lordship Maeve.
Ladyship.
Cow. Which hand is the correct hand to wield a maul with? So we've gotten several maul questions. I'm guessing there's a story behind this.
There is.
Tell it.
Okay. So when Abakal became a kingdom, the Iron Maul is not only the coolest award we have, but it's second place in our kingdom championship. So when Abakal became a kingdom, Sir Winar won it, and then I won it, and then Sir Winar won it, and then I won it. And then this last time, Sir Ivar won it, but he became king, so he was going to give it up. And Sir Winar and I have been passing this back and forth for 4 years. So he decided to hold a little tournament for the two of us to let us decide who gets the Iron Maul. And we decided, because it was going to be a fun tournament, we did best 3 out of 5, I think. I don't know. It's easy. I was hit by a chair. So we did a bardic entry at the beginning. So he's an old school wrestler fan. So he's always wanted to do like an old wrestling match. So we went in and we played theme music, the final countdown, if you're curious, because we're both counts. We made posters for it. It was the Brawl for the Mall. So we came into the final countdown. We did the whole WWE announcement of the two people there. To win the first fight, I came down from the top ropes, which was a chair, and killed him with them all. And then he's always wanted to be a bad guy wrestler. So during the second fight, he went down and he got me distracted by the crowd, and he came up from behind me and hit me with a metal chair. And that's how he won the second one. If you're really curious, so when they do this in wrestling, what they do is they take the screws partially out so the chair breaks.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't. Instead, he broke the chair over my head. And then we went into the actual brawl. We did an actual tournament. He beat me because he's just better fighter than I am. But so
you're also a little bit dazed by the fact you got hit in the head by a chair.
It wasn't pleasant, even with a helmet. If you're curious, getting hit with a metal chair. Hit with and without a helmet on. The helmet's better, still not good.
Those chairs are actually also made out of very thin tin.
Oh yeah, that would have been good too.
Yeah,
unfortunately, let him by the chair.
Yeah, you couldn't sit on one of them, but you could hit somebody with it.
Yeah, the guy who was doing the hitting bought the chair, not the guy who was hit. And so that's how, have you ever heard of Griffin Eyes News? That's how it started, because they hyped up the whole thing beforehand, doing interviews as if we were a boxing match for a week beforehand. We got the Crown Prince at the time to do it. It's actually a really cool special, and Mabe was one of the people involved in it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I wish I had them all. It's at Sir Winar's house because he got custody, but that's why the mall question. So the correct hand, if you're curious, is the left hand.
Oh, okay. So that leads into the next question. Do you feel like you can take back the Iron Maul when next you have a chance? And that's from Scald of Avencall.
So because it's second place, you never fight for second place? But I'm kind of I was on a hiatus from tournaments, but now that we're having a next Kingdom Championship tournament, I think that might be my first tournament I fought since the Crown that I fought in. Just because I do want that mall. I'm going to do my best to try to get the Kingdom Championship, if that's cool, but
well, it looks like fans out there. Lucas Lapine says, Sinister for the win.
Well, actually, the loss because it came in second.
Well, yeah. Well, close enough. He also says, as an ex-wrestler, I'd rather go through a table than take a chair shot.
Now I know for next time.
Yeah, I'm just gonna believe him on that one.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So this next question is a big one. You got to bear with us. This comes from Martin McDuff. He's the squire to Sir Kirk Erneson. Einerson, sure. Like seriously, I screw up names. It's kind of my thing. So bear with me. Just it's a long one. Do you feel that the bar to being a knight should always be raised? Also, do you think that the raising of this subjective bar prevents many people from getting knighted, especially if their skill would have been good enough 6 or 7 years previously? So he goes on to compare it to a black belt or someone taking the test to be a black belt, but having to go up against a third-degree black belt in order just to get their first black belt.
Yeah, so this is an interesting question. Thanks, McDuff. Love you, buddy. Yeah, that bar does keep changing. I don't think anybody can argue that like the bar is the same way it has been for the past 30 years. So that a knight from 1990 is the same as a knight from 2020. That's just not the case. Knights are getting better. We're getting better at teaching people the skills to become a knight. It is harder to get there, I think, mainly because people need to spend more time doing it. And do I think it should be changed? I think it is changing, and I'm not sure that there's we can't go back and take a picture of me when just before I got knighted, or Fergus right before he got knighted, or anybody else. We don't get to crystallize that moment in time and then take that person and go, now fight this new person we think should be a knight. Are they at the same level? We can't do that. So all we kind of get is are they pretty good? Are they working at it? Are they wanting to be a knight for good reasons? Are they a good person in the SCA? All of that. And then also, have they done the things that we were doing? Are they taking the time to practice their skills? Are they traveling outside of Kingdom in order to learn from other people? Are they actively participating in getting better? Because it's not just the end result of, well, now we're all this good, we're all knights, that's it. If the sport is still developing, then we should expect that the new people who want to be knights are also participating in that, and that they're doing what we're doing. We want to make the sport better. We want to make fighters better. I think there were other parts to that question there. I mean, I hope that it doesn't change too quickly, because there are a lot of people that could be like, well, now we all have to be as good as Duke Sean. Hopefully that's not the case. I don't have a white belt, and that's, I mean, I worked really hard with that thing, but like, yeah. I don't know. It feels like my answer.
I agree. If we all have to be as good as Duke Sean or as Duke Havek or Duke Mark, then
Sven.
Yeah, he's just
Duke fill in the blank, really.
Yeah, Duke fill in the blank.
Yeah.
I'd agree with Korsak that the game we're just getting better. The sport, we're getting better at teaching it. It's developing. It's tough because a lot of martial arts have been around for anywhere from like 100 years to some over 1,000. So this is definitely going up. I do want you to know that we try our best as knights to be conscious of that, though. And I got called on this when we were discussing a candidate, and I used myself as the bar, and another knight said, you can't do that because that was 2 years ago. You've improved in 2 years. you are a better fighter than when you started. So we actually do try very hard to be conscious of we've improved as well. So you don't have to be as good as somebody who's been a knight for 6 years. You just have to be, some people say percentage, highest percentage. Some people say better than X squires, etc. So we generally compare you against the squire pool as well as how you fare against the knights. So yes, the sport gets better, but everybody gets better. So sure, you knighted 10 years ago, but 10 years ago they didn't have the training you did. So keep in mind, we do constantly readjust how we assess people, and we don't compare them to us, and we don't compare them to the best of us, especially.
Mm-hmm. No, that's really important, because, like you said, like you get the accolade, but you continue to improve. I think that's one of the things about fighting in general is no matter how good you get, you continue to improve, or you should be improving. Yeah. And there's Tukshan. You don't have to be as good as I am now. You definitely need to be better than I was 34 years ago when I got knighted. That Duke Sean guy. Well, thank you, Duke Sean, for making us feel good and bad at the same time.
No, I feel great about that. I'd feel bad if Sean wasn't always so, like, literally just, hey, show up at my house and I'll teach you how to fight better.
Oh, yeah. I love Duke Sean. He's been on the show at least twice now. And, yeah, he has an open invitation to be on the show anytime he wants to. He can just show up. Oh, and if you like Duke Sean, you should be watching his show as well. We'll tell you about that at the end of the show. All right. So, more questions for you, fantastic gentlemen. We're running out of time here. I think we're going to go over just a little bit, but we'll try not to. But there are some really, really good questions in here that I really want to get to. Like this one from Thorn, his Lordship Thorn in the East. Do you feel that it is important for unbelts to fight in Crown?
Absolutely. We're lucky we have an open list. So anybody who shows up who has a membership card and a set of armor and is authorized gets to fight in Crown. And that's how Avocal's culture is. That's how it always has been. And if you want to and you are able to physically, I would encourage you to. If you don't want to, then I would never pressure you into it. But I don't think it's important, as in I would hold it against you if you didn't. Let's say you didn't think you could do it and you're just nervous about it, etc. So you don't fight in it. That's fine. I'm not going to judge you harshly for it. Then pick up some other tournaments. We'll judge you there. But if you want to do it, I would encourage you to do it because there's no other experience fighting quite like a Crown tournament.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, like Fergus said, we have a totally open list. I've never not been at a Crown. Okay, there was one tournament, but where I didn't fight in it. I was at one Coronet that I didn't. But like fighting Coronets, fighting your Crowns, fight in any high level tournament you can, because you might think that hey, I'm doing really good at practice and I'm fighting all these people and they're maybe there's other knights there and they're trying to help you out. You don't really know. You're trying to like, am I actually good? Am I just kind of getting there? Am I figuring stuff out, or do I still have a lot to work on? Then you go to one of those big tournaments where people crank the dial up all the way and they're like, okay, now I'm here to murder everybody on the field. That is a totally different experience than any other tournament you can be in. And it's not an experience that doesn't have a lot of value. It might be like intense and you might get overwhelmed, and that's fine. Just be in that tournament, because you're gonna need to be in those tournaments later. So you might as well get as much experience as you can in them early. They're not that scary. And losing really quickly is not a big deal. Again, nobody's judging you for that. But yeah, definitely be in those tournaments. They matter so much for your later mental game and how well you can do. And they're a good test of like, how well have I been improving? Because I fought those guys before. And in a smaller tournament, sometimes it's hard to tell. But in a Crown, everybody's gunning for it. And you always kind of get the best fight out of people. They're perfect.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. One of the things I love about Western Crowns is that, and Coronets, is everybody's welcome, including foreign knights, because the West thinks that if a foreign knight shows up, or not just knight, but a a foreigner shows up and is fighting for the crown, and we can't keep it from them, then that's our fault.
For sure.
So it's our job to beat the crap out of that guy until he's out of the tournament, so he doesn't take the crown home with him.
Sure.
But the other thing that I love about it is, like the last cornet that I fought, I thought that I fought. It was one of my best days fighting, and I lost. Like quickly, I was out of the tournament quickly, but I knew that I was doing the right things. I just got caught.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I went out of that tournament and I was happy because I knew that I was fighting well. I just got beat.
Yeah.
But then the other thing about it is we have our Roses tournament that runs after the first round of the tournament or the second round when you have the first people who are booted out of the actual crown tourney. Well, then you get the Roses. And so you still get those really good fights because now the people who are out, they're just fighting for their consorts, but they're still going to give you the best fight because they came to fight in crown.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't happen to make it. So now they're going to give you their best fights so they can make you take a rose to their lady or their consort. So some of the best fighting I've ever done or ever experienced, I should say. All right, so we got a couple more questions that I want to get to really quick before we have to say goodnight. So, and this one comes from Duke Sean himself. How do you deal with the what's next after you're knighted? So, you spend all this time, you finally gotten the accolade. You've got your belt, your spurs on. You've gotten the crap smacked out of you. Now what do you do?
Well, so I got hit in the face. I got booped, and then I got hit in the face. And then I started looking around. I'm like, well, what do I want to do next? Well, what is next on the list? And that was, well, I'd like to be king someday. I know that, and that's always been a goal, or I guess a goal that kind of came up as I was wanting to be a knight. I'm like, okay, well, part of that also means that, you're going to be in a place where you might be able to win crowns. So is that something you want to do? And I decided I would. But then after that, I was like, I like it when people speak of me well. And if I can do things that help that, then that's awesome. So if I can be a good teacher and if I can travel all over the place and people can get to know me, if I get down to like I got friends now in Aidenveld, I got friends out in the east, I got friends at Atlantia, and if I can get down there and people are like, oh yeah, that's that Korsak guy, all such and such, and hopefully get things, that all has a lot of value to me. So I was like, well, how can I go about getting, say, word fame or so on? That was kind of the what's next about it. And you look at the people that you look up to, and I look up to people like Duke Sean, Duke Edward, Duke Steercar. Like, there's a whole lot of guys out there that I just look up to highly, and I'm like, well, what do they have that I want? And a lot of that is really good word fame. They're respected by the people that they respect, and that matters a lot to me. So that was what I was looking for.
Excellent.
So, all right, let's get a little personal here. My squiredom wasn't the best in the world. It was a little contentious by the end between me and my knight. During that time, my squire sister and I essentially developed a training partnership. She is one of my best friends. She is my training partner. She is the person who was there for me during my entire journey. So when I got knighted before her. But my journey wasn't over until she got knighted. So it then went on for another year and a half, roughly. And then eventually, when she became a knight as well, then I actually got hit with this question really hard because both of us had made it. Now, we're both keep each other very honest, and we're both going to be much better for it because we're still fantastic friends and training partners. But the next thing, like I literally, after she was knighted, 2 months later, I won crown. At the same time, I became a pelican in the same event. It was a wacky event. And then we got, after I stepped down for crowd, like 6 months later, we got hit with a pandemic. So I'm going to be brutally honest when I come to this question. I don't know. I love fighting. I, once again, think if you're going to do something, you should do it well. I love training people. I love teaching my protege. I'm really involved in youth combat. I build that up. I do a lot of things in the SCA to the point where after what I do after knighthood didn't change much for me. My goals have never. I'm not really goal orientated when it comes to peerages. Winning crown was cool. I enjoyed that, but it wasn't really a massive goal. So I really don't know if I have a set goal because I've kind of accomplished everything I wanted to do, but I want to help everybody. I want to help my squires get there. I want to keep growing this community that I love. I just want to be there for people. I just don't have a specific goal for me. I guess it probably was, except for the Iron Mall. I really want the Iron Mall again. But outside of that, I don't. It's a good question. I don't have a good answer, but it's one I ask myself frequently. It's just my journey was longer than other people, and I had more steps in it because of certain things that came up during my squiredom and then afterwards. So I'll get back to you one day on this.
Okay, well, I think that's an excellent answer. To be honest, from both of you, you know, like your basic answer is, I want to make the SCA better for everyone. Like, I've gotten all the cool stuff that I wanted to do, and now I'm going to make sure that I'm making the SCA better for everybody, which is what we should all be doing to begin with. I will throw a challenge out to you, though. You said that you like war fighting, but you're not a war knight. Maybe look into making a war unit. Just a little one.
I do as much as I can to be a war knight. I compare myself to the really high bar, so I'm not there yet. I'm working on it though.
Hey, if you start with you and two other people, and you go to, I mean, like, none of us have been to a war in over a year, almost a year and a half. So, you know, if you got a 3-man squad and you go out and deal a little death, you know, next year it'll be five guys. Next year after that, maybe 10. The next thing we know, you're, you know, leading a war band, and we all have to be afraid of you. So I'll raise my glass to that, and I will set that as a challenge from someone who has no right to challenge you. Well, gentlemen, that's about it. It's already past our time. We've got so many like badass questions here that we will just have to save for later. I thank you so much for being on the show this evening, and I will throw out one last question to you. It's the question that I always ask, and this is for what kind of any kind of media that motivates you. Is it a show, or, you know, TV, movie, music, a book, something that gets your SCA mojo going if you're working on a project, or, you know, maybe something that you do before you go to an event, or even the music that you listen to on the way to an event that gets you in the medieval mindset. What do you got for us?
Oh, bad. You put me when I was a kid, I really enjoyed David Eddings and the Sparhawk series. That's kind of what got me down this chivalry knighthood path. I mean, they're really for more young adults, so don't read them thinking that they're the deepest things in the world, but they're a fun read, and I still read them regularly. So that's, to me, that was kind of what got me in the medieval mood. I don't have a lot of shows that I watch that get me in there. I do like fantasy shows. 13th Warrior is fantastic. So yes. Lord of the Rings. For music, I mean, I listen to industrial EDM before I go to practices, so I don't. Doesn't put me into the medieval mood, but man, it gets me pumped up.
Well, it gets you in the fighting mode, right?
Yeah, it gets the blood pumping. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. The boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants. Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess as far as like things I do right before an event or music I'll listen to before I go to an event, I don't. Even like on a trip to an event, I call people. So Sir Olaf, who's up in Grand Prairie, like he and I and a couple of buddies of his that would always travel with him, we'd end up talking for a couple of hours before every event. I don't know, for the last couple of years, easily. And I'll do that pretty regularly. I'm headed to this event. You're headed to this event. I can't wait to see you. Often we're so busy at events, we don't get to spend as much time as we would like with each other. So let's just chat on the phone about a whole bunch of things and then see each other in person. So I don't listen to music, but man, talking to other people about how much they love this game is it's fulfilling. And then I guess it's like when I'm doing projects or something like that, if I want kind of something to keep me focused or in the mood or what have you, I watched what was it, Outlaw King, and then I think it's just called The King or King, and then Kingdom of Heaven. I could watch Kingdom of Heaven all the time. That movie is awesome. Only the director's cut, not the crap whatever that they actually released.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
But yeah, that sort of stuff. I do like kind of more medieval movies. I'm not sure if you'd call them period pieces because I can never really tell exactly how much of it is accurate, but it all seems pretty accurate. I'm totally in disagreement with both of you. I hated the 13th Warrior, and yeah, I know. Don't worry. You're down in the West. You can fight me about it when I come down to see you for AT Westward or something.
And I will do that. Don't forget Cal's in the background.
Yeah, that's fine.
He loves that movie.
But yeah,
no. I'll tell you what. If you didn't like the movie, try the book or the audio book because it's a lot different. Because it has to be
for sure, right? Movies have to stand on their own, though. And anyway, that's my opinion on that. You guys have fun.
What a way to end it.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if we're going to have you back after that.
You know what? That's fine. You have to deal with me for that open thing you were talking about.
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly what I want to talk about. So before we get going here, I want to thank my fantastic guests for putting up with me and my silly questions and all of your fantastic questions out there in viewer land. And I have a special treat for you. If you enjoy this show and you want like 5 or 6 hours of it, this Saturday, May the 1st, as part of the virtual West Kingdom Beltane, Ask the Knights is going to do an all-day Ask the Knights live, but this is the thing that makes it even more fun because it's going to be done through Zoom in a classroom setting. That's right. You guys get to be in the room with us and you get to ask the questions that you want to ask. Now, I will be there to be a pain in your butts. But other than that, if you ask a dumb question, I'll just say, hey, that's a dumb question. And I don't have to have my guests answer it. But if you ask a question and the guests want to answer it anyway, because, who the hell am I? Yeah, absolutely. Come, bring your questions to West Kingdom Virtual Beltane. If you'd like to know more about it, all you have to do is look it up on Facebook. You can get all the information that you need there. I've got a lot of really good nights already set up, and I have a lot of past guests who are going to be popping in from time to time during the entire day. So come in, ask your questions, and bring the good ones because all of these folks are past guests and they've already had like the good ones. They want the good. They want the Duchess Helga level questions. So bring them. Yeah, that's pretty much all day this next Saturday, May the 1st. 11 o'clock PST to 5 o'clock PST or 5 o'clock PM PST. That's Pacific time. So yeah, come out, hang out with us, and ask some questions, have some fun. Gents, is there anything else that you want to pitch, you want to say before we say goodnight to our fantastic viewers?
I can't wait to see all of you people again. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying it was fun, but yeah, I can't wait to see people. Man, one day we'll do this in person over a fire and a beer.
Over a fire.
It's gonna be great.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you this. I've already been told that I have to do an Ask the Knights live at Great Western War whenever we get to do the next one. So if you guys want to come and see it or be in it, I'm talking to you two fantastic people. Yeah, just let me know and we will get it set up because what the hell else am I going to do? I'm here for you. Seriously, this is my weekly SEA event. It makes me
really, really good. Yeah.
I love it. All right, folks. Good night, everybody. We will see you next week on Ask the Knights Live. Thanks for coming out.